Good morning. Welcome
Hey.
to NUFC Breakfast Show. Obviously, it's midday here in the UK, and we call it the Breakfast Show because we're just trying to obviously source any information that's out there this morning and obviously yesterday evening when we come offline. So, uh, to be fair, guys, there's very little information out there. So, what me and Win have decided to do is address. One or two things that's come to light since the Eddie Howe interview. So we're going to touch on it. I know people are sick of listening to it, but there has been some I say useful information out there, but it's not useful. But it just surprises you what people obviously think of that interview. So
There's been a
let's
lot
do.
of bandwagon jumping.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do a little bit of housework before we crack on. Welcome to all that are watching across the platforms. Like I said, if you're watching on X, don't forget to pause at some point, jump over onto YouTube, just smash a like, and you can continue watching on any platform you like. Thanks to all the mods that work, obviously, in the background. Don't forget to hit the like if you enjoy the show, dislike if you don't. It just helps us get further as a channel. To other supporters, subscribe. It's totally free. Hit the bell for any future content. And if you want to support the channel and help us grow, become a member. It's a small monthly fee, and that gives you a chance of winning prizes as and when they come up. Don't forget to check the webpage, NUFC Talk TV, for news and content. That's totally ad free. But like I said, as there's not a lot come out that's from a good source, we haven't updated it over the last 4 days. So we always wait to make sure that there's good information out there before we put it on. But it is a good read if you want to catch up with anything. If you've got a question for either myself or Win, please put a Q in front of the question so that we can identify it and then we can talk about it. Apologies about not mentioning all of the chats. I will put as much on the screen as relevant, but if you want to guarantee that we can discuss your chat, then go to the $sign, follow the instructions, and that will guarantee your message read out. All new members and gifted memberships will be highlighted as the show goes on. Um, so, with what we've heard and what we've seen and everything else that's going on, um, I do feel a little bit confused at the minute because you hear so much crap, and so many opinions from lots of people about what's happening behind the scenes. And from my point of view, I don't know where the information's coming from. Um, so that's what made us look at. I mean, obviously, I watched the True Faith podcast, and it was a very interesting look at how they pictured the scene. Um, and I know you've yet to catch up on that, matey. So I'll probably just give you a little bit of an insight on what they were saying was in a roundabout way, and I'm going to try and cut it really short. Was we're not Bournemouth. We're not a smaller club, and forgive me, and I don't want to disrespect any other clubs out there that may be watching, but Bournemouth, Burnley type of size of ground and football club isn't what Newcastle United is. And do you believe that Eddie now has got to change his attitude? Because all of the elite clubs, and you alluded to this the other day, all of the elite clubs don't have the manager picking transfers and things like that. They do in the lower leagues. I understand that because they have a lot more of a role behind the scenes to do, not only manage the club. Like I said, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes because you just haven't got the structure behind you. But has Eddie now got to change his attitude towards Newcastle going forward and stop being this big fish in a little pool and be a same size fish in a bigger pool? If you catch my drift, what's your
Not
thoughts?
for me. For me, everything that he said was common sense. It's everything is being taken completely out of proportion. All he's ever said is he loves it here. He's enjoyed his time here. He's having a great time here, and he's going to keep on doing what he does best as long as it's a bit like Keegan said. This is not what was on the brochure. Now, if the brochure's changed, and he said, right, well, I do not want to work under this type of system. And I'm not saying for 1 second that this is the case, by the way, but the way that everybody else is trying to interpret, that's a key word, interpret, because the words say nothing of the sort. All the words say is, as long as things stay as they have been for the last 2.5 years, I'm happy as a pig and you know what.
So
If those circumstances change, if those conditions change, then obviously I will reconsider and see whether I'm happy with what's going on. I think that's
so
perfectly reasonable,
absolutely, and
and
nobody
and
can.
and for everybody to be. But then, if you take it a step further, and see, I see Harmeet's in there. He's wanted Eddie out for a while now.
Yeah, yeah.
In the chat. If you take it a step further, what's the worst possible scenario? The worst possible scenario is Eddie goes to England and we get presumably Poch in
Mm.
because of his connections with Paul Mitchell.
When
Now,
Locke's just passed.
you know me, I love a good conspiracy theory,
Yeah, yeah.
and could all of this tension behind the scenes, could it possibly be driven by Paul Mitchell, who wants his buddy back in? Is he having a word here and there with his mates in the press for to get it spun the way it's being spun?
Hmm.
If that's the case, we're going to have problems.
Yeah,
But I
I mean,
honestly don't see it.
I know, and that's what I said. I always say there's no smoke without fire. I've always said that, and when I questioned, excuse me, what the journals were putting out there about the unrest in the background, because all we could see was smiley faces. Now, these guys are obviously in camp and have been in camp for some part of the week, not all of the week. Um, but the way I look at it, and I'm going to go over what Jack Colbeck had put in. I mean, we were talking about it before, and obviously he's made a statement on X, the Ginger Perlo. If anybody wants to go out there and read it, I'm going to read it from here, and it gives us a little bit of. We was not disagreeing or agreeing with what he said, but we both couldn't really work out where this information had come from, could we? So I'm going to do a little bit of a readout, and forgive me if it is a bit long, so bear with me. Um, so the Ginger Perlo, Jack Colback says, I've been around Eddie as a manager, as a fan, then through work at Bournemouth, then a fan again at my own club for almost 10 years. Let me translate his reported quote. But it has to be right for me and the football club. There's absolutely no point in me saying I'm happy staying at Newcastle if the dynamic isn't right. I'm certainly not serving Newcastle well if I do that. That's what Eddie Howe reportedly said. Eddie Howe is a control freak, is what Perlo has said, who has just lost his biggest ally in Amanda Staveley. Now, we've already spoke on that. He has also had two new people hired above him in Mitchell and Bunce. His natural reaction to this will be caution and concern. He didn't like Ashworth above him and Howe had so much influence over Staveley, he got his way and got to keep Ashworth outside the inner circle of Tyndall and his coaches. Part of why Ashworth left, by the way. I don't know where he got that information from. He is saying this stuff as it's only been 5 minutes since Mitchell and Bunce came in. So he's decided to make a point through the media as he has no longer a Staveley to say it to internally. It's nothing to worry about, just Eddie being Eddie. His neatly laid out bedroom to the right angled inch has suddenly had a big change. As long as Mitchell and Bunce don't rock the boat so much that Eddie spits his dummy out, then it's all good. Uh, he will want final say in all of the transfers. So if it's different model than before, and there could be an issue. but he will get final say on first team signings, just maybe not for the development squad. If he has a problem with that, then he'll need to get over it. Can't see why he would mind though. Standard practice at most clubs, and that's what we've just said. We have got to get away from this small club mentality. He didn't take the Celtic job because he couldn't get every single member of the staff to join him. He's that particular. His control freak nature is a solid 11 out of 10. You can see most of what I've said in the Sky interview. He isn't taking the England job, waiting to see how the new structure works. Conclusion, it'll be fine, and now to hype over. So I
Well,
took that.
if you go back to the very start, what you're saying, he's worked 10 years under Eddie. He's never worked
Well,
a single day under Eddie.
no. I think what he's saying here, and again, I ain't in the Ginger Perlo's head. I'm very often in my own
No,
head.
his words that you read out said, I've worked for
I
10 years
yeah.
under Eddie.
Wait. Yeah. I've been around Eddie as a manager, as a fan, then through work at Bournemouth, then a fan again at my own club for almost 10 years. Now
Well,
I don't
he's
I
never
don't
been to
work that out.
Bournemouth. He's never
Well,
been to Bournemouth.
what I'm saying to you is we don't know what's happened, what he does behind the scenes, and we've said that before. We don't know whether he's going and looking at getting his coaching badges and he's touring around to try and find somewhere that'll sign him off. Because having badges myself, you have to do so many hours with different age groups. Well, I did. I had to start with grassroots and then move up. But I had to get obviously different people to sign me off at different levels. I had to have different qualifications. Um,
But why
so
would
I don't know.
Colback do that at a club away from where he is, as far away as Bournemouth? Because he's certainly never
Again,
been seen in Newcastle in those capacities. He's still a
again, I
full-time
can only.
footballer.
Yeah, well, look, we know he's still on QPR's books, isn't he?
It's just clickbait, man.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
As most of it is.
Yeah.
By the way,
Uh,
Peter's saying my sound is low. I've just turned mine up a bit. I don't know if you want to turn yours up a bit, or is anybody else having any problems hearing us?
I didn't want to blast everybody's ears out. I have turned it up slightly, so if it's too loud now, guys, just let me know and I'll turn it down slightly. I understand the fact that like I said, nobody likes change. Everybody in the world that's in a business, in a structure where you've had control of what's around you for so many years, for somebody then to take that away from you, you have to have a different mindset. You can't always go down the same one-way street. There has to be development. And as Newcastle are growing, that development has to be by bringing better staff in behind you. Now, the other conversation that I say I wanted to talk about, I mean, I don't want to talk about any of this because, again, I really don't have that much knowledge of what's been said. But there was an article, and I'm not going to mention where the article come from or what's been said by this person because I don't really want to give them the airtime because, again, I don't know how credible the source is. But according to what they've put here, is James Bunce believes that Newcastle not qualifying for Europe was down to Eddie Howe's intense training and would like to modify it for next season to prevent injury. Some hard-hitting talks have been held, ultimately culminating in Eddie Howe telling the media boundaries have to be set. Now, if that is true, all I can say is the lad's doing his job. That's what James Bunt's been in to do. He's been given an employment to obviously make sure that going forward that the lads don't have injuries during training sessions and that they're the best prepared that they possibly can. So for me, that's nothing. That's nothing regarding news or I'm pointing the finger to say that James Bunce is trying to upset Eddie. We both sat and watched the interview from James Bunce where he comes in and says he wants to work closely with managers because at the end of the day, the information that he gives across to the manager, hopefully, it won't get the manager sacked, because if the manager is sacked, his job's still at Newcastle United, more or less. That's what he's saying, isn't it? So, do you give that information Eddie credit whatsoever, or is it just clickbait?
I give it none at all. The idea that James Bunce
Apologies.
has turned round categorically and said Eddie's house training methods are to blame for us not qualifying for Europe. I don't believe that for 1 second. I'm not disputing that on the back of all of the injuries that were had last season and some glaring examples that were playing for everybody to see of where players had come back obviously too early, notably Murphy and Target. So on the back of that, justifiably, fingers can be pointed to say, how was this allowed to happen? And the answer to that, of course, is that at the time, there was almost no alternative, because our squad was so threadbare that you know, it'd be like chances. How many times we said it's a gamble? Chances had to be taken, and on a couple of occasions, those chances backfired well and truly. We don't know yet, although it's commonly believed, if you like, that Botman's serious injury was due to him coming back after being as we said at the time, you know, Botman has to agree to have the operation. You can't give a player an operation against his will. And if he said he didn't want an operation, you know, all that. So you've got the Botman situation there, which leaves a lot to be desired. And you could argue that maybe if James Bunce had been here last season, he would have turned around and said, look, there's no ifs or buts about it. You're going for an operation and that's it.
Yeah. Or you're not playing again.
Oh, you're not playing again, eh?
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing, isn't
it? And so if you argue that that's taken Eddie's power away, I disagree. It's just common sense, where somebody with presumably a lot more technical information about injuries and the like, you know, James Bunce, we are told, is top, you know, best in class in that sphere of operations, to use a pun, but that's his forte. Eddie's forte is, as Darren Neal said in his interview, on the grass. And I just think everybody is making far more of this than this power grab business.
Yeah.
Basically, Eddie Howe has got to make a decision. He must know in his own mind, and I am sure he will have been contacted by the FA before they put the advert out for the manager or the head coach on Friday. So the FA had a week before they even put an advert out to talk to whoever their preferred candidates were going to be, to see where the land lay with all of that. And once, presumably, Eddie, it turned around and says, well, you know, not for me, thank you very much. So then they've had to go out and advertise it to see what caliber of candidate to get applying for the job. But Eddie will know that basically, if he wants the England job, he can have it. Now, first of all, is that the sort of job he wants? From everything we've learned about Eddie, he gets his kicks out of working with players on the training field, day by day, every day. He's in crack of dawn, and, you know, we've heard all about his work ethic. And that's where he gets his kicks, improving players. That's not something you have to do at national level, because the players you're picking are already top of the tree. That's not to say they can't all improve, but basically, as a national coach, what you're deciding is on the method of, what style of play you're going to adopt,
Your
and which
methodology.
players are best to fulfill that style of play.
Yeah.
So he can decide if he wants to go to England. Now, he's got a dilemma. He can think, right, if I go to England, I'm more or less guaranteed 2 years in the job. Because until the next major championship, he's going to be responsible for all of that. So he's going to get 2 years.
Yeah.
And he can think, at Newcastle, if I get off to a bad start this season, I could be out by Christmas. So he sits down, has a word with himself and says, right, what's the chances of me, getting Newcastle to the top of the league by, let's say, Christmas? He looks at the fixtures and says, well, we've got the easiest fixtures just about of anybody. As long as he may be thinking to himself, as long as I can do it I'm quite happy with the squad I've got available now and who we're going to bring in, that I can meet any targets that PIF put onto me.
Yeah.
And I can do it, as long as I can do it the way I want to do it, I'm happy that I can achieve that. Now, if he thinks there's something in the offing with the appointments of Paul Mitchell and James Bunce that would prevent him doing that, then he'll say, right, I'm off to England. Now then, let's say he goes to England. Is that calamitous for Newcastle? I don't think it is.
Well, there's talk out there already, mate, that Poch is obviously in line in case Eddie does take the England role. So again, how much information is come from the club regarding that?
It's all supposition, but it's supposition which is based on very sound thinking.
Of course it is.
Poch and Mitchell have worked together twice, very, very successfully.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I said it's a jigsaw that's already been made, isn't it? If you like.
Yeah.
So for me, I understand.
The question is Poch the proven winner?
Yeah.
That everybody is saying we should replace Eddie with.
But to be fair, his record at Chelsea towards the end was excellent, wasn't it?
Well,
he had turned Chelsea around.
You could argue that he got it right.
Absolutely.
It took him a while, but eventually when he did, they were on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just going to quickly go because we've had quite a few responses. Now, listen, guys, I understand that we're talking about the situation again, but there's a lot of question marks out there, and the reasons why we've decided just to hit on it again, I suppose, is the fact that we don't know anything. There's nothing happening. There is no information about any players, any transfer news apart from potential links going somewhere. Now, this could just be clickbait. We have no idea. There's a couple of sources suggest otherwise, and that's why we talk about it. But when you look at all of the other platforms that have discussed the interview regarding Eddie Howe, and then you start looking at what players are actually saying about the situation regarding Eddie Howe, we decided just to hit on it again. And it's just to try without being hot-headed and emotional, because sometimes having listened to the interview, you can get a little bit emotive regarding your response. And that's something that we wanted to get away from. We wanted time to clarify what's going on out there, what other people are saying, and has anything changed? Now, like I said, we know that off the plane from Germany, a lot of the backroom staff went straight to Benton, to the training ground. So that Eddie Howe, Tyndall, I think Mitchell, and I'm not sure whether Darren Eales was part of that setup. And apparently they were there for many hours. And according to whoever's put it down in X, the last person to leave was Eddie Howe at 11 p.m. at night. So there was obviously a lot of discussions going on. Now, whether that's to iron out any of these creases or whether it literally is now targets to go and hit, I'm hoping we'll see some movement in the transfer window before the guys fly out to Japan. It would be nice to think that they're going to go and get somebody before the next friendly game. Well, obviously, we're still waiting to hear. Apologies if you can hear some growling in the background. My dog's rolling over on his ball right in front of me, and he's just making some crazy noises. So it's not me, by the way. So
Now, I've only got your word for that.
Well, of course, and you know my word's always a nice word. So let's have a quick look at, like I say, what's been happening. Like I say, apologies if we're going over old stuff. Oh, you okay? Oh, silly mate. He's bitten a bit of his ball apart and he's joked on it. Harmeet. Now we know Harmeet from the old days. 26 days to the first game of the season, and still no players in. That we need. What the F is going on?
Patience, like my friend, patience.
We have got time, but like I said, this is the reasons why we're talking about what we're talking. Have they still got to go out there and iron out some ideas? And that's the way I'm looking at it. It's more of the ideas going forward. Don't forget, we've still got a few players that, according to all the chats, we still need to probably get rid of as well. So it's not only incomings, we've also got to try and line up the outgoings as well. And that's something else we're going to come on to in a second. Afternoon, people. Hi, Ken. Who agrees that the Eddie wanting to keep players post-sell by date is Dummett, Richie Wilson, all his favourites, and now Mitchell saying this happened no more has caused upset. Now, I'm just gonna make a point on this. The only reason Dummett and Richie was ever going to get signed on a further 12 months was if we reach Europe, because obviously they count as home ground players because they've been at the club for such a long time. So he could count them in the numbers. And that was the only reason he was going to get it. The other reasons why Eddie really liked these guys was exactly the same. It's more for the behind the scenes. These guys, especially Dummett in the dressing room, apparently is a mini Gascoigne. He does lots of laughs. He's a bundle of joy to be around, and apparently the lads loved him behind the scenes because of his joviality. So I understand the reasons why they wanted to give them another 12 months. The biggest problem is by not extending that now and not replacing it, we've actually got two less players to choose from, to pick from. So it makes the problem even bigger to try and fill that pool. What's your thoughts on it, mate?
Well, I kind of disagree with all of that, really. I mean, yeah, you joke behind the scene and all that, but for the number of I mean, bear in mind, but when he did get picked on it, he did a canny job, apart from obviously famously the Everton game.
Yeah,
when he decided to join the WWE. But that aside, he was man of the match in the Carabao Cup run against City. However, he wasn't going to get, his appearances were going to be extremely limited. And for me, you don't pay somebody, whatever, 30, 40, 50 grand a week for being a comedian in the dressing room. You can go and get Michael McIntyre in to do that job for you for less than that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's more for the European. He would have been on the European agenda more than
Dummett was homegrown, but Richie wasn't.
No, but he'd been at the club for so many years, and I believe after so many years, you can class them as homegrown.
I bow to your superior knowledge on that.
Well, I'm sure somebody will let us know if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's the way it works.
We'll check it out for the next show. But these players had to go. We had to clear some wages so that we can pay wages to better players coming in. And so I'm over the moon that I'm not over the moon that they've gone, kind of thing. But you can't carry that sort of dead wood forever. With regard to Wilson, I would keep Wilson as well. You can't buy players who will guarantee you Premiership goals the way he does for coppers, and that's all we'll get if we sell him.
Yeah.
So to me, it could be a benefit in disguise, the fact that he's just got injured again.
I'll meet Ian again. Look, bless him. Ken Robinson, good that happened now. He's not God, and most of our fan base think this. I want him gone now. Time to bring an elite manager in. We haven't even started the season yet,
Harmeet's always been, he's been Eddie out for probably a year now.
Absolutely.
And
we're not going to win trophies with Wilson, Miggy, Murphy, Byrne, Longstaff in our squad. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
but they got us to Europe. And they got us to the cup final.
Where there was very people in my squad who finished fourth. So if what to say they're not going to get us in the Champions League with them, well, they've proven that we did get in the Champions League with them.
And we got to the cup final.
QED, I rest my case, me lad. However, we're 2 years on from that now. Yeah, so exactly. Yes, every dog has its day, and every food has a shelf life. And their shelf life was up.
If it's not up now, it will be come January. If they can't get rid of them now, it'll be the January window. Ryan,
you're saying we can't get rid of players. You better believe it, because by all accounts, the poison jock, Ryan Fraser, is back training with the under-21s.
Yeah.
Now, strangely, Jamal Lewis, who had also been told that he was surplus to requirements, not going to. Lo and behold, Jamal Lewis played. He went to Germany and he actually played in the game, in the practice game that they'd set up over there.
Yeah.
And round of Trolls is still pissed, I think.
Has he brought someone else in? I haven't. I'm on the Star, you see, so I'm looking at a different screen at the minute. Trolls, thank you so much, my friend. You are an absolute star.
I wish it was your birthday every week, Trolls.
Crone, absolutely. You are an absolute ledge. Thank you so much, matey. This guy dished out so many memberships the other day. Phenomenal. So, like I say, do us a favour, guys, for those that have got memberships. Smash the likes. Don't forget to subscribe, because we still don't ever get the amount of likes that we see viewers. So thank you very much, Trolls, again. So yeah, Ryan has put down here.
Just what Trolls was saying there, Gary. Where is it?
Sorry, go on. Go it again.
There we go. In my opinion, Howe should have talked to the owners about the things he said to the press, not to the journos. He has sunk, in my opinion, about him, to be honest. Well, it depends, again, on how you interpret what he said. And he said more or less the exact same things in his official Newcastle United interview that they did on the NUFC TV channel. So that's the official club video site, where you go and watch the games and all that sort of stuff. Almost identical. So in my opinion, he has had those conversations with the board, with the owners.
Yeah.
Because had he not done so, then they would have made changes. They would have edited that interview to be different, or not showed it at all, whatever. He said to the Sky, the Sky interview was, in fact, Gary, you at one point you said it was obviously scripted.
Some of it was.
And yes, it certainly would have been scripted, because that's being professional. That's doing the job properly.
Well, that's why he never gives anything away, does he? That's what I'm saying.
I just, and again, if Eddie goes, he goes with my absolute blessing, and I think England will be all the better for it. And we can then move on, and hopefully, there's a bit of debate going on in the chat there about how good or bad Poch is.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, you got one camp saying the only thing he ever won was the league with PSG. Well, your granny could do that. But on the other hand, you've got the fact that you got Spurs Spurs to the Champions League final. And and I'd settle for that every day of the week.
Just on trolls, mate. There you go. So trolls
Oh
again.
man,
Thank you
away.
so much, Brian Scott, Steve NUFC, Tommy K, John, and Old Angry Noob Gamer, and Aaron Kainth have all been gifted memberships by trolls. So thank you so much again. You are so generous. So guys, just to support trolls and his really massive generosity, hit the likes for us as a show going forward, because that excuse me, just gives us a little bit more of an audience in the background. So thank you again, trolls, for your massive generosity. I'm going to clear them because I'm knowing what I know of trolls. There could be someone jumping back on. So let's get back into the chat. Ryan Foster, let's say it straight, Eddie will not have full control. Piff did not hire these two men just to let Eddie use their business as his own toy. Their business orientated Mitchell will find the players' facts. I've heard that obviously it had nothing to do with Amanda Staveley, the hiring of Mitchell and James. Well, I mean, obviously James Bunch is going to be Mitchell's go-to, but it was Piff that obviously wanted this setup, and that's what's happened. So, like I say, I do think if Eddie is a little bit, if he has been a little bit turbed by the incomings of these guys, I think PIF are going to tell him it's our way or the highway. So let's see what happens.
That's exactly it. As opposed to the narrative that was being flung about on Friday was this was Eddie turning around to the board and saying it's my way or the highway.
I think it's the other way around.
It's complete opposite. Exactly. It could well be the board turning around to Eddie and saying, "This is the way we're doing it now.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, there's the England job.
Yeah.
And if you do, smashing. Let's get on with it."
A little bit of sad news. Geordie Two for Life, and I have seen it, a message, and apologies because obviously I was in my spiel, so I don't want to discredit this. Colin Locke was the lady photographer. Apparently, has sadly passed away today. So all our condolences go to Colin Locke's family. Sad news indeed, because obviously anybody that works at the club is a blessing, and I really do send my heartfelt condolences to all of the family and friends that knew Colin. Ryan, Brian, I'm Newcastle first. Eddie needs to toe the line or leave. We gave him the manager's job over the time. Remember, Piff wanted Unai Emery. Amanda got Eddie in. Yeah, that's also true. Brian, sorry the anti-house stuff does trigger me. Not media. I don't give a second glance, but the fans.
Exactly. I feel the same way, Brian, son.
Yeah. Never called out your support, but sus you brought that up, to be honest. Mate, it's like I said, people are questioning why we haven't been forward thinking, or there's no momentum in the transfer market at the moment. What you've actually saw was the ladies team be massively supported behind the scenes. Our academy players now seem really on, top jolly. And like I say, there's going to be, I believe there's going to be one young lad, pivot, who can be the, I think, the unsung hero. I think he's got a really good career ahead of him. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next season. Well, this season coming. Brian again. Let's go. Let's get it straight. Eddie Howe pushed that squad till it broke. His protection for his squad. I would have sacked him if he did the same this season. He put his will to Eon before player safety. Trying to work that out. He put his will to Ian. Don't know what he's trying to say
No,
there, my friend. Listen, like I said, there's always going to be question marks about Eddie's tactics because, like you've seen Lewis Hall, his interview. I know it said that he was fit, but he wasn't Eddie Howe fit, and it took him months to get to that standard of what Eddie Howe wanted. And now the lad has reached that goal. We saw glimpses of what the lad can do on the pitch last season, towards the end of the season. And now what Eddie wants him to do is concentrate on his defensive capacity because obviously the lad was a winger, a midfielder, originally at Chelsea. Then he's obviously moved backwards. And it's a massive transition to change places because your mindset has got to change with it. So I hope the lad now reeks the wards. But like I say, it does take a while to get to what Eddie wants you. You ain't going to walk straight into Eddie's team, put it that way. Brian, they want him for England, man. The media will younger will be deeper than mine. The media will younger. What's that? I don't know what you're saying there, buddy. If he gets it, don't believe the lie. Like I say, I think, like I said, it was the job's his to refuse, and I believe the cut-off point is the 2nd of August. Good day all here to yesterday. Botman ahead of schedule in his recovery.
but
I think that he's heard yesterday. Botman is well ahead of recovery because he's had a totally different procedure to Lascelles. Something I can get into if there's no other news. Maybe we'll look at some of the injuries going forward. But again, maybe we can do that doing one session doing the injury list. But yeah, he
hang
has.
hang on. You just said something there, just flippantly that went away, and I said, where's that come from? You said he has to make a decision by the 2nd of August.
Yeah, I think the
Where's
England
that
job.
come from? I've never seen that anywhere.
Well, I've seen a link again. I don't know what the source was, and I wasn't 100% sure whether it was a legit one from the FA because you very rarely get a cut-off point. But like you said before,
was this maybe all right? Could this have been on the advert that the place replies by 2nd of August or something
the
like
2nd
that?
of August.
That
Exactly.
might have been it, yeah, because they put the
Yeah,
advert out on.
That's right. So they get so many days before, obviously, because according to what the FA have said, they've already had a lot of good names come forward for the position.
Well, I'm
So
sure
I think what they do, it's like I said, it's what you class as a good name. But obviously from that, then you get a cut-off point. But it still doesn't mean that you're going to guarantee a job from the candidates that's come, before the 2nd of August. If they haven't got the credentials, then they won't be picked for the job. So what? Brian's coming again. Ryan's coming again. Brian, you're good, mate. I've given Eddie a chance this year, but if he's going against Mitchell, he can leave Mitchell. Sorry, he's a game changer for us and our future. Downtide, push them again, mate. Again, I don't know. I think that's banter between you guys. Steve, NUFC, nice to see you, Steve. I haven't seen you on the chat before, so welcome, buddy. Slightly disappointed with the lack of transfer activity at the moment, but still plenty of time left. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. But more
I think,
than
like
2 months.
They've still got to wind out one or two things. And like I say, there was a meeting after the Germany training session. So again, is this the way we go forward now? Watch this space. Trolls, Howe's job is to work with the players, tell Mitchell and the scouting team what type of player he wants, in my opinion. And that's
right.
exactly right. Dave Knight, wouldn't say Posh is a proven winner, though apart from PSG, I don't think he's won much. Well, like I say, it's not about what he's won, it's more the fact that how he's changed things around. And yes, we have got into the Champions League under Eddie, and we were very unlucky to get out the group stage, but he has got, like Win has already said, Spurs to a final. And he's changed the way Chelsea played completely, and they were virtually Premier League winners if you look at the last So 7 games, I think it was.
Yeah,
I
well,
think they picked up the most points over 7 games than any other team around them. So again, when you look at the amount of managers that come in before him and didn't get a chance from that, he ain't a bad manager to have. Trolls again, but Howe needs to understand that we have to structure now, and he isn't the top man anymore. Hope he gets that, or we need another manager. And I think that's oh my days. Business chats, every trying to make it as Eddie spent them hours stamping his feet. Yeah. And trolls. Bang, there you go.
you're joking.
Another well, that's why I cleared them, because I had a feeling that something else was gonna appear. That can't be right. I'm just trying to look at who's got those. Bear with me a second. That's the one. And right. Trolls, thank you for gifting Vincent N, the Black and White Sheep, Tarek Torgoden, Neil Powell, Brian Scott. There you go, Brian. You now got the membership.
No, it's not. Because he just happened to get a comment in. You've just missed out. It's gone to Navjot Bra and Ivan
Where?
Lee.
Oh, he's put a comment in between them. I do apologise. Yeah, I can see that now. Navjot Broad and Ivan Lee. Yeah, I tell you, these systems drive me insane. Yeah, so there you go. So sorry, Bri. You'd already there anyway. You're still there anyway. I could just see the green, which obviously tells us that they are members. I'm just reading from a different screen altogether, so apologies. And so, but again, trolls, so generous. Thank you, my friend, for what you do for us as a channel going forward. I don't want How out, but as I said, we can't keep getting rid of DOFs because of How. There we go nowhere. And he will never be an elite manager if he can't understand that, to be fair.
Right, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. He's saying we can't keep on getting rid of DOFs because of How. There is no proof whatsoever that Ashworth left because of Eddie Howe. Ashworth left because he was contacted through the back door and offered the Man United job. That's why Ashworth left, because he was offered what he considered, and who's to argue with him, a much bigger, better job with Manchester United than he's got at Newcastle United.
Yeah.
So that's why Ashworth left. It's just pure, all this nonsense. It's pure speculation that Ashworth and Eddie didn't get on, and that was why Ashworth left. The reason Ashworth left was to go to Man United. Pure and simple. End of. In my humble opinion.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think anybody can. I don't think anybody has any idea of what's going on behind the scenes. So we are literally just making.
What does he know? What does he know? It's well documented. Where is it well documented, Christopher? Get your facts on the table.
So let's have a look at what somebody has said on here, because there's been lots of chat while we've been doing the talk, and obviously we've got trolls doing his gifts, and I need to catch up. Stephen Harker, welcome, Stephen. What nonsense! The freak injury of players was just bad luck. The other injuries were some players, i.e. Wilson, etc., old and need replacing. Eddie knows players' limits. He's a professional coach.
Agreed.
There's an element of agreement with that, but we all said last season that he didn't rotate the players enough, in our opinions. He played the same players over and over again. Now, you have got to take the hit with that, because obviously You don't get the results that and it's a result-driven industry. We know that. So Eddie managed the team as he saw fit as a professional. You're absolutely right. And there were a lot of freak injuries. You were absolutely right. But how many injuries did they have that could have been? I would say you can never say got rid of, but would it have made a lesser impact on the players if he rotated the players more? And I mean rotated the players more, not at 65 minutes and then moving players around on the field to try and gamble. And we saw some of his gambles didn't work last year when he tried to rotate the squad differently. So I think, especially the one that comes to mind is the one at West Ham when Harvey Barnes obviously come on and got the winners for us. Because without that, I think we would have been in the mire. So there is certain things. But I mean, like I say, yeah, I agree with you. But like I say, I don't think you can ever rule out what caused the injury.
Well,
The Ruffy admonition.
as Napoleon said, give me lucky generals. And the West Ham game, I love Eddie, as you know, but I thought Eddie was very lucky in the West Ham game because Barnes wasn't his first choice to put on. He put Mickey on first, and it was only when Kraft picked up his little knock that Kraft had to, having gone on, having also been put on, by the way, before
that's
Barnes.
Right,
so he got, in my opinion, best game of the season. In my opinion, Eddie got lucky that day by more or less being forced to put Harvey Barnes on, who of course went on to change the game. So I'm not giving Eddie full credit for that turnaround. Because you could have had Barnes on 20 minutes earlier when he put Kraft on.
Absolutely. He's just giving us some clarity on how the UEFA look at the English players. For UEFA, 4 players must be with an English team, and 4 players must also have been with the club for at least 3 years or 3 complete seasons before the age of 21. Well, that certainly rules out Richie.
Well, no, have you seen it's 3 years?
Yeah, complete
3 complete years. So that would include Richie, but that would include an awful lot of players.
I was going to say that gives them a run. So I don't understand that to a degree. Yeah. According to the Magpie channel, Eddie has had clear air talks with the club, and Eddie has now been given assurances he needed. Again,
what a surprise!
There you go.
I mean, actually, we'll keep on going back to it, but there was nothing untoward at all in what he said on the Sky interview. Now, according to various journalists who, by the way, I by and large trust. So you're talking about Luke Edwards, Craig Hope, the Geordie Journos. They all said that when he went on to have the individual one-on-ones with each of them, that there was, quote unquote, something different about what he was saying and the way he was saying it to the normal Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
And the fact that they all, and by the way, these are all Newcastle fans who like Eddie Howe, so there's not a reason for them to say it if there wasn't something in it. Unless you want to go down the line of they were doing it to stir up a bit controversy to make their articles a bit more interesting, which of course is always a possibility. However, the fact that those guys in particular had picked up this vibe, for want of a better expression, that Eddie was drawing this line in the sand and saying, right, this is the way it's going to be, or I'm off ski, effectively an ultimatum to the club. You sense that there had to be something in it. I prefer to look at the words, and to me, the words were just pure common sense from Eddie. Let's get on with it now. I don't know where that's come from, the comment he just put up saying apparently he's had clear the air talks. Well, says who?
Says who?
With
exactly.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. We can say all sorts on here, which we don't,
Yeah.
Because, like I say, we just try and find a legitimate source. But I could say that I'm the Prince of Bel Air. It's up to you whether you believe that or not. Like I said, I don't know. I do hope that whatever meetings that they've had, whilst in Germany, whilst coming off the plane and going to Benton, has either ironed out the creases, drawn this line in the sand, which is what Eddie wanted, and from there the lads can go forward as a unit and get us what we require, and go from there. I am just highlighting a couple of things that people have put in. Again, I can't. There's so much chat going on in the background. I am just going to look at these few. Ian, CR65, thank you, buddy. Hi, lads. Apparently, Eddie and Mitchell held talks over the weekend. So he's reiterating exactly what has just been put in the Magpie channel. Apparently, Eddie and Mitchell held talks over the weekend. Hopefully, everything will be okay, and we'll have a great season. So, again, there's obviously some meat on that bone because it seems to be going out there a lot of the times, unless you've all got it from the same source. So the Premier League has to be classified as home ground. One must be an English team for at least 3 years before the age of 21. 8 players in the squad must fit this. So there you go. David Voicha, welcome, my friend. Luke Edwards has added his 2 pence worth to the Storm this morning, but the Telegraph can go away because I will not subscribe to their rag. Yeah, I must admit, you have got to make your own opinions on some of the local rags and the national rags, because again, these days everything's online, and they do try and drive people to click their headlines. David Knight, Mitchell actually seems really excited about working with Eddie. Might be lying like a politician, but I don't feel that from him. I agree with you, mate. I was really impressed with how he come across in his interview, and it looks like he, as he said, he knew Eddie from the South Coast when he was at Southampton and Eddie was at Bournemouth. They obviously come across each other at times, and obviously get on okay. There didn't seem to be any animosity, but like you said, it's easy to smile and say something differently, isn't it? Or mean something differently. David, again, I think Poch would work wonderfully in our new structure, and so will Howe if he wants to. Up to Howe if he wants to really be an elite manager. Yep. Ryan, sorry, Mighty Win. Newcastle didn't give Howe final say and keep Ashworth out the inner circle. Who says he would have left the facts? Left the facts are Eddie's ego had something to do with him leaving, so he went Manu. Like I said, without being in the room and without being around them two, there's a lot of vibes coming out of Newcastle at times. I do agree with you, buddy. That there was a little bit of a niggle between Ashworth and Eddie, because I think it was a little bit of a power struggle. But I think the problem back then, and if you go back a few months, you'll see an interview that Dan Ashworth did with a university. I think it was Nottingham University. And he mentioned the way it works at Newcastle behind the scenes. And he alluded to, if you look at a wheel with no spokes, what he's trying to do is being that centre cog, and he's trying to attach the spokes to the wheel. So we'd got a lot of a more of a role responsibility, because he had to do absolutely everything. Now, a sporting director's role is to do that, if I'm honest. But I don't know how much of what he was trying to do impacted what Eddie was trying to do on the field. So there may have been a little bit of animosity, because, like I said, whenever you get somebody in that's got a difference of opinion, it can rub you up the wrong way. And especially if he is, as alluded to by the Ginger Perlo, a little bit of a control freak. Trolls, I don't trust Howe and his nephew when it comes to transfers, and playing Lungi for 3 months when he was shy doesn't make it better when we had alternatives on the bench, to be fair. yeah, we just said it wasn't.
But the problem was that last season we didn't have alternatives on the bench.
Well, it's what we were saying before. How can you change what we had? And that's what we're saying. That's where a lot of the injuries were occurring, wasn't it? Because
That's right.
it was
As I
just the fact
say,
that they were overplayed.
I am 100% behind Eddie, but this is, he got a pass last year because of all the injuries and Tenali situation, etc., etc. But I mean, as I say, last season the two marquee signings in the window were Barnes and Tenali, and between them, they played about a dozen games last season because of injuries. Harvey Barnes picked up that freak foot injury, and Tenali with his gambling. So
exactly,
they were his two marquee signings who were brought in to improve what we'd done the season before when we'd qualified for Europe. He wasn't able to use them by and large, and then we were hit with a whole load of other injuries. So last season, he gets a pass. This season, coming up, especially with the fixtures coming out the way they've come out, which is very favourable to us, I believe, at the start of the season, unlike last season when we had by far and away the hardest start to anybody's season. This season, there's no excuse. And if we are not within 3 points of top three this season, then I'm going to be in the tending towards the how about brigade. But I've got no worries that we will be there.
I've just had a look. Sorry, mate. I was just going to have a quick look at the.
There was someone in the chat there earlier on that I had a quick look at, and it was a name that I hadn't seen mentioned before. Said there's something on BBC about Newcastle being after Nicholas Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's what I was just typing in because I hadn't seen that, so I'm going to have a quick look at that while we're doing something.
Well, I've got them up here too, sir.
You did that, and I'll do the stars because there's, like I say, there's still.
Right.
It's right. I have to read some of these before I put them up because obviously the children are off school. So, guys, in the background, if you wouldn't mind, when you're chatting amongst yourselves, if it's a question for me and Win, put a Q in the way at the start of it. But please, so I can put it on the screen just to acknowledge you guys, try and keep the swearing out of it. Like I say, we are well before the watershed and we are in the school holidays in the UK. So just to make you guys aware, this isn't an adults only channel. Niall wasn't Hall not available when Byrne was getting skinned every week. Here, if Eddie stays, I will get behind the team. Just hoping 2 or 3 quality signings come in. We all said, why won't Hall get played? And you're absolutely right because we were all so frustrated that Big Dan Burns was getting skinned most of the weeks on pace. But like everything else,
we'll agree to differ.
Here we go. But what I did notice was he wasn't beaten very often in a 50-50 tackle. Here he goes. He's from Bly. Yeah. So it's like I said. I do agree with you, mate. I have no issues with your arguments. We'll do that in a second, buddy. We'll do that in a second because, like I say, we'll come to the transfery bits because I've got another one, like I say, in a second. So we'll do them. Let me just get through this, my friend, and then we'll go for it. Brian's also put, if question things, I was Eddie Head during the Man U loss, but I calmed down. That was during the season. This is all media BS for me. Like I said, just be careful of your language, guys, please. It was always going to be a slower transfer through the Euros, also changing Mitchell coming, also meetings were about transfer direction, not clear the air, says the NUFC TV Darren Eales interview. That's what I said. These guys have got to. He's a new guy, Mitchell. He'll have different targets than Eddie Howe had. And what they've both got to do now is, one, they've got to look at different players and what they can bring into the club. And what Mitchell's got to do is look at the types of players that will suit NUFC. Now, we've both said, and the panel have said in the past, that when Mitchell wasn't employed by Newcastle, it wouldn't surprise us that he wasn't already doing that type of thing. And now it's a case of crossing the T's and dotting the I's and going and looking for players. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of truth behind that. John, biggest problem with Eddie is that he's far too loyal to certain players. Now we've seen that, and we witnessed that last year. None of us could really work out why there wasn't movement in certain areas. But again, when you come away from it and you look deep into it, there wasn't a lot in the pool that he could pick from to replace him with. And like I keep saying, it's his job on the line. It's not ours. We can sit here and be the biggest pundits we can and shout out where all the failures was, and we often did, because at the end of the day, as much as we back Eddie Howe, if Eddie Howe makes a clanger, we'll be the first ones to pick it up and say he should have done better there. But at the end of the day, it's his job that's on the line, not ours. Ian, we are being linked with an Argentinian forward, Nicolas Gonzalez. Mate, thanks for that. And like I say, guys, you are our eyes and ears when we're on show, because obviously we can only pick up what's coming through the papers in the morning. So anything you see that comes our way in the afternoon or while we're on show, like Ian has, please forward it to us. Thanks, Ian. Wynn's got that in the background, ready to go. I can see it all poised. Ronnie, I don't believe anything he's saying with Eddie being a conflict with Mitchell or previously with Ashworth from the same journalist linked to the transfers that are all probably BS in general. Yeah, that's what we're saying, mate. We haven't
Spot
really
on.
got any evidence. Yeah, any evidence to back any of this up, apart from what he said. And like I said, he's just drawn a line in the sand. And you can sit on the fence, or you can go one way with the journos, or you can go the other way with Win. You know, and like yourself says, it's all just BS. Trolls, we did. Lungi didn't tackle, run, or anything, so even I would have done. But yeah, and that's what we were saying. He carried this so-called injury the entire season, having to have injections with this so-called broken foot, which I would have loved to have seen. Any X-rays or stuff. I did question that, especially the Man U game, where players coming on and spending 30 minutes on the park did a lot more than him doing 70 minutes on the park. Or as I say, 10 times more, because, like I said, you look at his stats, he didn't do a thing against Man U. And obviously, eventually, we lost to them. So, yeah, like I said, I can't disagree with anything that you've said. These journals are stealing the wage, making things up as they are. They gun Brian and Stephen. They're
Making
always being
things
an
up as they
agenda.
gone along.
Yeah, exactly. Agenda with the
And
Southern Press.
I do believe, I don't be saying they're the Southern, but I do believe there's an agenda for the national press to be, if they can, unsettle Howe here, because they want him.
Everybody's trying for the England job
as England manager. Yeah. So
yeah.
I can, that's
I totally agree.
Perfectly
everywhere
rational.
You go. So yeah, I agree with that, mate. But I also agree with the bottom part, mate. Our local ones doing the same should be ashamed, and that's something that I can 100% agree with you, buddy, because it's not great. Paul Guys, welcome, Paul. Hiya, Gary, the mighty Win. If Eddie Howe does take the England job, I think Newcastle will go for Pochettino. Now that's what we've already said, buddy.
I think that's
according to the stories,
pretty much universal.
Poch is there in the pipeline. How to heal your hurts. Thank you. That's a new one. Not seen you in the chat before. How to heal your hurts. Injections in his foot for months, but fine bowling many overs for time with cricket club. That's exactly what I said when I put it up when he started his journey down the cricket game. You can't do what he was doing as a medium fast bowler with a bad foot. It was impossible. So I completely agree with you. I think it was all a bit BS behind the scenes because he wasn't playing
that to me was just Eddie deflecting criticism from Sean.
Yeah. You can't tell me he didn't see what we saw.
Exactly.
Just look. If we sell Murphy, it's Jacob you're talking about. That means that we'll keep 1 foot Miggy, headless chicken runner. That scares me, to be honest. Like I said, you can't sell players unless you do one or two things. One, just pay the contract off, and two, put a ridiculous price on the head, like we've already seen with a few players that we've been linked with.
But strangely, he's saying Murphy to Ipswich. It's about 2 weeks ago now, all of the crack was Miggy.
It's gone. Yeah, well,
Ipswich.
There was Longstaff to Ipswich, wasn't it? Miggy to Saudi.
No, Longstaff was either Leeds or Leicester.
Was it Leeds or Leicester? I thought it was Ipswich.
Longstaff was Leeds or Leicester. Miggy to Ipswich was the rumours then.
Was the rumour. Okay. So, guys, I think we need to come away from, because we've seemed to run this Eddie thing to death, to be fair. But thank you so much for all your chat. Let's draw the line in the sand.
The fact that it's causing as much chat among the Twitterati, etc., means it's up there to be discussed. And everybody will have different opinions, which we always encourage on this channel, of course.
Absolutely.
And so as long as it's out there, we'll be talking about it.
Yeah, Stephen Harker's just put a cue in. He's Miggy digging his heels, and I expected him Saudi or America by now. But mate, like I said, the guys are still on holiday because they've been in Copa. So they've given them all an extra time off. I don't even think. I believe the lads are coming back during the Japan tour for a couple of games in the Japan tour. So we'll find out a lot more about Miggy, obviously, when he comes back off holiday. But by all accounts, there's still a lot of talk about him being moved on, whether he does go to Saudi, which is a question mark because, again, religious beliefs, or whether he goes to Americas and goes back to Atlanta. Who knows? But it's one to watch, and we should know a little bit more in the coming few days. Murphy to Ipswich, as you said. Where was the other one? There was somebody else that said something. Anyway, buddy, on this new link, you have got already set up. Fire away. I am in your control.
Can you read that? Probably not.
It does look a very, very blurry, my friend. Ah, that's better. Yeah, you go. You're good. It's
that
clear.
Better?
Yeah, it's good.
Right. So
start at the top.
You can see there.
I don't know what's his age.
His actual he's up.
Go up 26. To the top, my friend. Because he's 26. Okay, mate. Just so we can see who he is and everything else, and who he plays for. So I've never heard of this lad.
Yeah.
Left footer.
Forward. So, me neither.
Yeah.
Left footer. And according to this, he's left footer but plays right wing, which I've just knocked off for some strange reason. But his heat map says he plays left wing. So straight away, I'm saying, why do we need a left winger? You know.
Yeah.
Just a minute. But what I do like with anybody is when their actuals exceed their expected, which he does goals wise. Assists, not good. When I'm on the wrong there. Assists, poor. Expected assists, even worse. But his actual assists are exceeding his expected assists, even though they're both pretty poor. Shot creating actions, not good, but plenty greens there. doesn't attempt a lot of passes because he likes take-ons, and he's progressive passes. He's well in the green. Very good in the air.
So Foxy, you're really good on the South American story. Give us some idea of what this lad's like. Carry on, buddy.
There's Foxy in there. I hadn't seen Foxy today.
Yeah, I've just noticed him in the chat.
He kind of fits the profile, except that as we know, Paul Mitchell tends to go for under 26-year-olds as opposed to 26-year-olds. Not a lot there to go on.
But if you have a look across the way, what you've just got on there, look, mate, on who he's compared with, Win, where you're hovering with your cursor now, look who he's compared with.
Yeah, so
I mean, there's some good players there.
Yeah, Trossard, our very own Perez.
Yeah.
And Jared Bowen, Joe Pedro,
Felix. Yeah. And Adjemi, who we were already linked with.
He's in good company.
So, yeah, very good.
Dortmund, yeah. So, that's Nicolas Gonzalez.
Yeah, and the other one.
With a name like Gonzalez, as with most South Americans, he'll probably have Nicholas on the back of his shirt because there's so many Gonzalezes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Including our very own Christopher, of course.
Christopher, yeah, exactly. Our very own, the man, the myth, the legend. And we obviously noticed that
the man, the myth, the legend, the numpty.
Oh. And let's get rid of that because I don't want that. But what I am going to put on was what we saw the other day, and you were saying about not having seen these before. And I said these are obviously the kits that were next in line. Now, apparently, that middle kit there, the black and white one, was supposedly just before the takeover of Puma. That was the one that was going to be issued. I can't remember. Was it 2010? I think it was 2010 when Puma come on board. But that one there apparently is the one that we were going to. But I do. I find this is really bright.
DX and Roy are the wizards on kits.
On kits,
they tend to take a lot more notice of what kits we're wearing than what I do. I tend to look at the players as opposed to what they're wearing.
Yeah. But I must admit, I did like the look of the kits. That was obviously on the back burner that we've never seen before.
Yeah, back to the skinny stripes as opposed to the broad stripes.
To the broad stripes, yeah, exactly. That's really old school, isn't it?
Including the hoops there, very narrow hoops as opposed to broad hoops.
Yeah, exactly.
On the away shirt.
On the away shirt, exactly. Yeah. So that was that, and then obviously I've got the next player that we've been linked to is, as already mentioned in the chat, John Duran. Now, with obviously this guy, I'm going to go up a little bit because obviously you wasn't really au fait with this guy at all, was you?
Well, he went. He's Colombian, and he was in the Colombian squad in the Copa America, but he didn't play.
Yeah. No. So as you can see, he hasn't played a lot of minutes. So 23 appearances. So comes on quite late on in the game. 475 minutes in the Premier League. 5 goals, no assists, and his XG is okay for the minutes that he's played, I suppose. 5 goals in 475 minutes. And you come down here, he plays up front for, and obviously comes in for Ollie Watkins when he gets substituted. So he's quite happy, I suppose, to be that second string striker. But if you read the reports, I think he wants to go to Juve. I think that's where his heart's set. But I can't ever see him getting um, involved too much if it is Juve.
Well,
Again, that
except
may
for
be
the
a
fact that
false.
Juve are trying desperately to get rid of Chiesa, so he could be seen by them as a replacement for Chiesa.
But he's more of a number 9 than he is a right-sided player. Um, so again, I don't know. So looking at his percentiles, non-penalty goals quite high, very good. Shots he averages just over 3 shots for the minutes that he's played. Again, which I suppose you can't fault. Not great on the assists, but I don't really count them being a front man. I want him to score goals. Progressive passes and carries. These are the ones that I look at. Progressive carries, which is more important. He's over 1 or just under 2, I suppose. Not great on the take-ons, so he does lose the ball when he's trying to beat the defender. If that's where he's lost most of the possession. I haven't seen much of him to really give a really broad background on this lad, but very good on the defensive side of things. He good on the tackles, just over 1 tackle the time he's been on there, and interceptions. Yeah, okay. Blocks, he obviously gets involved with and clearances. So obviously he comes back well in defence, and like I say, he's aerial duels, which is very important for set pieces against. 3.79, just under 4. So again, for the amount of minutes he's done, it isn't too bad. But again, he's left-footed. Was he the one that we were looking at to play on that wing? Because, like I say, I've never really seen him play on there, and I haven't got.
Well,
Let me
I think
just.
if we were interested in him, it would be as a number 2 for Isak. And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
it's by virtue of the fact that he's wanting away. Does that not mean, because at the minute he's effectively number 2 to Watkins? And is that not him saying, "Look, I'm fed up of being second fiddle. I want to be number 1 somewhere"?
yeah.
In which
But I
case,
don't.
would he come to Newcastle knowing that he's behind Isak?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, I mean, obviously in the Copa America, it looks like he did play 1 game.
He came on as a
He
sub.
came on.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
checking that he came on as a sub against Costa Rica when they were already winning 3-0.
yeah, and in the Premiership, let's just put this on screen so we can all see it. It's very rude of me just to look at it myself. And I've gone on to SofaScore now because it gives you obviously some idea of where he's at. He's all over the park. So his heat map really doesn't give you a lot of info, but obviously probably a little bit redder on the right hand side and obviously up front. But again, is he that elite player that you'd be looking for? I mean, he's only 20 years old,
You
left-footed.
haven't
So,
put it up yet, Gary.
oh, apologies. I do apologise. I have put it up. I just hadn't added it to the screen. Um, so yeah. So if you look at where his heat map is, it isn't like I say, it's everywhere. There's nothing actually dominating. Um, and if we put,
I
let's
like the Reds in the box. That's where I want my striker to be.
well, if you're playing as an out and out striker, I agree. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what you want. But are we looking at him being a right winger that can progress from there? And that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's got a good height, and apparently, by all accounts, I mean, they've only got him down here as a striker. I don't think he's ever played out here
Yeah, well, I agree. So
as a right
I
winger.
see. If we are signing him, we're signing him as a striker, not as the winger.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we need somebody better than him to be coming in on the right wing this window.
So if you look, he's only averaging 22 minutes a game, even though he had 3 starts. So he didn't tear any trees up when he played, and he's 25% goal conversion to what he played with the 5 goals. So I don't know whether that is, like I say, just as a stopgap because of where we are with Wilson. You got me? Is that the
Yeah,
fact that we're just getting a little bit of cover for Wilson? Because I don't know. Only downside with Duran is a bit unpredictable on and off the field, similar to Tino back in the day. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that he's got a
So
bit of a hot
if he's
temper
got
about him.
a Tino temperament, we could be in for some fun down the
Yeah,
quayside.
yeah, exactly. John Duran, what a prospect. Whoever gets him, have a player. Left foot is lethal, causes problems in the opposition when he comes in every time. Centre forward, not a winger. So there you
Yeah,
go. It wouldn't make me be surprised, like I say, because of what's name's injury, that this lad was looked at as the second understudy to Isak, and obviously bringing Wilson back slowly, because I must admit that I didn't see many injuries, but like Foxy's already said, he has got a bit of an issue away from the park. Um, I'm not sure whether that's one of the reasons why he's been told to go. Um, John said he'd love Ivan Ferguson as a number two. I believe there's also issues with him down at Brighton. I could be wrong. I've read some reports that he's not behaving himself while he's been injured. So again, could be a hot-headed youngster. Yeah, and Buemo. There we go. We keep coming
right.
back
No,
to him,
no.
don't
You
we?
see, what I love is the fact that there's nobody talking about Mbeumo at the minute,
Yeah,
and there's nobody talking about Bowen at the minute.
yeah.
And that to me is typical Newcastle now.
Newcastle.
Behind the scenes, you'll know nothing, and then bash, they'll be holding that shirt above their heads outside the tunnel. And the longer people stop talking about Mbeumo and Bowen, the better I like it, because either one of them would suit me down to the ground. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so there you go. And that's some facts there from Ed's Mancunian therapy. Thanks, Ed. 14 injuries, 95 games
Yeah,
missed, including 37% of Newcastle's top flight
yeah.
fixtures since
I think it's
2020.
slightly more than that, actually. I think it's in terms of available games, it's getting up towards the 50% mark that he's missed since he came.
So
But
Gonzalez was
the
part of the
point is
Argentinian
that
team.
when he does play,
Mm.
he's lethal.
Yeah,
Better
yeah.
goals per minute than Haaland.
Um, did you watch the Copa? Did you see this Gonzalez play at all? I didn't. Like I say,
I didn't know.
no.
I did watch the Copa, but he got a winner's medal. But I'm not sure whether he took much part. I'll have a quick look.
Falls. I hope everything falls into place. Played last season 35 games as right wing, 8 games as left wing, 1 game as striker. So, to be fair, I don't. Apart from the usual comments. Oh, so there you go. The
Oh,
Telegraph again comes up with an exclusive from John. Reassure manager he will continue to hold significant power after he sparked alarm with comments about restructuring. Now, again, I don't know whether that's paper talk, but thanks, John, for letting us know about that. Steve Harker has put Chiesa, he's injury prone, and again, for his price, I am surprised he hasn't been snapped up. So there's obviously some issues somewhere along the line with this lad. For 20 million, it's ridiculous. It's West Ham. Duran apparently is favouring West Ham as he may get game time. There you go. I heard it was Juve, but like I say, I heard the story first thing this morning that he was trying to, or his agent was trying to get him at Juve or ask Juve. Steve Harker, Mitchell said, given how the best players suited to our style that will be available to match days and that stops the injury prone ones. So I've done Foxy. Trolls, to be a number one, you need to score more than 7 goals in the season. But to be fair, I didn't see how many games he played though. Yeah, I mean, like I say, the only downside with Duran, he's a bit unpredictable on and off the pitch. Oh, we've done that one, haven't we?
Yeah, we've done that one, yeah.
Our mates here. What's frustrating is that we ain't putting bids in for players, and there's 26 days to go. Listen, it's frustrating. That's why I put that little meme at the front, because there's so many different stories out there. It's confusing who you believe, what you believe, and we've been linked to so many different players. Is there any truth behind any of them? And
Patience is a virtue.
Like Wynn's just said, it's typical United, not Man United, Toon, for us not to say a word, and then all of a sudden in comes the cavalry. I did look at
you got Hormeat there again. Eddie is the problem. Has a massive ego. I don't know why he hasn't won anything. Where does this thing about Eddie Howe having a massive ego come from? He's the most self-deprecating person you'll ever come across.
Yeah. I say I don't think
he's a very, very humble person. So I don't know where you get this ego bit from, Hormeat.
I do think he's probably stuck in his ways a little bit because that's his background. I think he has been used to having or doing everything himself because
which he had
lower
to do.
league management. Yeah, lower league management. That's what I said. You have to dip your hands into several pots, before you got them clean. So yeah, I understand his philosophy on that because it's hard work.
When Bournemouth went early out of the Football League altogether, when he first took over, he was actually paintbrush in his hand and lawnmower in his hand, doing all this stuff because they couldn't afford all these people to do it.
Yeah. Rufiad Benishina said we missed a trick. We had Luka Jovic on a free. Luka Jovic now would have been a good impact player off the bench, which he's doing at Milan, but re-signed. I don't know. Here he is. I cannot wait to get tonight, mate. The old man. Yeah, there you go.
Bring it on, sunshine. Bring it on.
Bring your gloves tonight, old man. There you go. Guys, thank you so much for everybody that's in the chat. And trolls again for all your gifts. Like I said, guys, before, to give trolls a massive thank you, do us a favour, hit the likes, subscribe, and we are towards the end of our midday news show. Like I said, it has gone dry, and I apologise for going over a lot of the stuff that we don't always do. But we just needed some clarity on some of the information that's out there. When you listen to other shows and podcasts and alike, the reputable ones anyway, sometimes it's just nice to re-enter the atmosphere with a different view, if you like, because you've had chance to put different opinions to bed, if I suppose. And like I say, we always like to try and give you a little bit more information, a bit wider view. Doesn't always work, and I appreciate it's probably because there's nothing else out there really going on. So we are trying to catch up with ourselves.
Rest assured, if something breaks, you'll hear it here second.
Absolutely. And that's what I said. Usually we have a habit of contacting each other behind the scenes. And like I said, what Mighty Chris has done in the background there, the American mag himself, if you have a look now to our border, it's moving around all the time because we're advertising obviously all the different shows and everything else, and we'll keep talking, we'll keep building the show. It does come under different names, but it's run by all the same people. So Mighty Win here does a lot of the graft. Chris does a lot of graft, and I just step in as and when needed.
And you do a lot of graft and all.
Well, I do a lot of the news feed.
Don't do an Eddie. No. Don't deprecate yourself.
No. I do a lot of the news feed background, but you guys, especially Chris, does the platform. So I appreciate everybody's work. But again, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching. So again, you do all need a bit of support there. So thanks very much for sticking with us for all this time. Again, great numbers in the show. And please support us by smashing the like button, and putting that thumbs up or thumbs down just to get us out there. See you
Or
tonight
make a
on
comment.
tonight's
Make
show.
a comment. That'll
Yeah,
do
yeah,
just as well.
absolutely. And that's something we need to do, actually. We need to get you guys commenting, even if the show's not on air. Leave a comment for future shows. Give us some ideas of
And
where you want to
share the
see
show
us
on all your media platforms.
on all your media platforms. Absolutely. So that's it. Thanks ever so much, guys. It's a goodbye from me and Tim.
It's a goodbye from him.
Yeah. See you later, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye now.